Good day, everyone, and welcome to our virtual panel discussion on Beyond Borders, the Future Works in the Age of Agentic AI, brought to you by Circulodi CISO. I am Sujit Christy, your host, and I am truly delighted to guide this critical conversation as we stand at the threshold of what many experts believe will be the most transformative shift in workplace technology since the Internet revolution. Today, we are not just talking about artificial intelligence as a tool, we are delving into agentic AI, autonomous systems capable of independently executing tasks, making decisions, and collaborating with both humans and other AI agents across organizational boundaries. This represents a fundamental reimagining of how work gets done. The economic imperative is clear for organizations. The recent research indicates that a remarkable 92% of executives plan to boost AI spending over the next 3 years, with 55% expecting investments to increase by at least 10% from current levels. This signifies a critical shift. Companies can no longer just spend on AI without expecting measurable results for both their top and bottom lines. From a top line perspective, agentic AI offers unprecedented opportunities for revenue growth through enhanced customer experiences, accelerated product development, and true 24 by 7 global operations. For bottom line impact, early adopters are reporting significant productivity gains. For instance, Goldman Sachs has documented a 20% productivity increase in programming tasks. However, experts like MIT's Nobel laureate Darren cautioned that broader economic impacts may be more modest, perhaps around 0.5% productivity growth over the next decade. This naturally leads us to the human capital challenge. Rather than widespread layoffs, we anticipate a nuanced evolution. MIT Sloan Management Review highlights that 39% of current skill sets will be overhauled or outdated between now and 2030. Organizations are increasingly focused on repurposing talent, liberating knowledge workers for mundane tasks, and strategically investing in reskilling for high value activities, emphasizing a collaborative human AI future. Agentic AI also promises a profound process revolution. It will create network of specialized AI agents capable of handling complex, multi-step workflows autonomously. However, MIT Sloan experts predict that the earliest AI agentic tools will be those for small, structured internal tasks with little money involved. Think routine operations like password resets, or a vacation request, or maybe a leave application before expanding to more complex customer facing applications. The investment's reality extends beyond just technology. It includes substantial investments in data infrastructure, particularly unstructured data management, alongside significant efforts in change management and workforce development. This requires organizations to grapple with cultural transformation, as 92% of data leaders identify cultural and change management challenges as the primary barrier to becoming data and AI driven. Finally, the MIT Sloan perspective emphasizes a crucial point: we are moving from experimentation to accountability. The time has come to rigorously measure results from generative AI initiatives, moving beyond the hype to establish controlled experiments and robust metrics for success. Today, our distinguished panelists, Azmie, Susantha Silva, and Enesh Fernando will help us navigate these complex dynamics, exploring how organizations can truly harness agentic AI's potential while thoughtfully managing the human, economic, and operational implications. Let's begin our exploration of this brave new world of work. So, bringing Susantha to the conversation, I would like to ask you, how would you paint a picture of where you see agentic AI making the most significant inroads in various industries? Susantha?
Okay, thanks, Sujit, first of all, inviting me for this session. Um, yes, so right now, I would say we are really witnessing the emergence of the agentic AI as the next evolution on the enterprise automation. So, like one goes beyond the our typical task execution to decision making, and then also from the autonomous goal achievement. So if the, let's say the traditional AI is all about, let's say, answering questions and then generating the content, now the agentic AI has actually now been designed to take initiatives. Like it right now we are in the era of like it will be setting the sub goals, adapting onto the environments, and then makes context aware decisions, and then also execute action with minimum human supervision. There's a course on that one. I will discuss that one in a later time of the session. But what really happening is now fundamentally it's going to keep on changing what's possible across the industries. So let me try to discuss about few high impact sectors very quickly in respect to the time. One is on the financial services. So in the financial services, now we see agentic AI is actually keep on transforming both the front office and then the back office operations. So we have seen autonomous agent managing like real-time risk assessment, initiating the compliance workflows, and even proactively optimizing investment portfolios based on the market shift. Now, example, there are some hedge funds even exploring multi-agent systems where let's say the AI agent negotiate the buy and sell strategies in simulation environments. So before pushing them into the live execution. So that's just purely for the focusing on shortening the decision cycles from hours to seconds. On the other hand, for the credit risk, fraud detection, and then we call the KYC, know your customer, process also being enhanced by the agentic systems, independently gathering that various contexts from disparate systems. On if I step into the healthcare, this is another big area actually. Agentic AI is now keep on evolving into virtual care coordinates. So autonomously, like scheduling the follow-ups, reminding the patients about the take their medication, and then also analyzing that data to flag the deteriorating conditions of the patients. And then there's another good example, like there's a company called AI, purely for the medical side. They are already piloting the large language model based agents trained specifically for clinical and empathic interactions. I'll try to share that link in the next discussion. So we also now see that agents also aiding for the radiologists by flagging abnormal scans and then retrieving the comparative studies from EHR systems. So the what's the long-term vision in that healthcare is all about agentic AI is going to support the clinical decision making in real time and freeing the human clinicians to focus on much more complex and then human-centric aspect of the care. Now, so you highlight about the manufacturing as well in that in your previous one. So manufacturing also now going to see much more smart operations and resilience. So now, agentic AIs keep on showing huge promise on real-time logistics, predictive maintenance, and then dynamic routing. So, if I take a little bit detail example, Bosch and Siemens, they are now experimenting with multi-agent simulations for factory optimization. So, in this situation, agents represent the machines, individual machines, and then collaboratively negotiating the schedules like energy usage and then the maintenance slots. So to improve that uptime and then also to reduce that energy waste. So in logistic, AI also now taken to a next level for coordinating the shipments across various, coordinating with the vendors, weather data, and then traffic systems, and then autonomously reroute the goods in real time. So those kind of things are keep being kind of like unimaginable like few years ago, but now it's possible. Now coming closer to my area, like on the, let's say put it simply on security side, now we see more and more AI infusion actually onto the cybersecurity side as well. So we had traditional SIM tools and then giving way to the agentic security operation centers now. So where AI agents now scan the telemetry data, try to track the incident, and even draft incident reports, and even initiate the containment workflows autonomously based on how we configure it. So, like if I take it a little bit deviate onto a product side in a biased way, like let's say if I take Microsoft, we talk about Microsoft Security Copilot and tools like Sentinel and Defend XDR all actually been embedded these with these patterns. So now agents actually really collaborating with the let's say the SOC operation team members to proactively identify and then the same time to reduce the time to analyze and then actually give a resolution. So going ahead, what that means end of the day, moving forward, AI agent is going to be entrusted not just with the execution decision, but shaping them as well. So this is what I see as a paradigm shift. So we are no longer going to be programming systems to do tasks. We are now instructing the agents to pursue the goals for the ambiguous and then real world environment. So this is where like we must learn, adapt, and collaborate. So you asked about the picture and future. So I would say within next 18 to 24 months, I would see there will be a surge of multi-agent ecosystems where the agents going to work with teams negotiating with each other. When I say negotiating with each other, it can be not only the humans, but with the other agent as well. So that's where I'm going to see huge, like let's say the shift going to happen on the technology side. Back to you, Sujit.
Azmie, you heard Susantha talk about the shift he used towards infusion, and he gave quite a good list of examples how different industries are embarking on an AI journey or agentic journey. How do we measure value? How do we know that this is meeting the organization's needs? Because I think the honeymoon period is over for businesses, right?
Yep.
Where we talked about the AI, and I think there were a lot of hype being created. Now today, the CFOs are asking these questions.
Hmm.
Can you share with us, where the value is derived and what you are seeing and how this whole thing is evolving?
Yep, sure. Sujit, thanks. Thanks for again inviting for this session. So I have been working with AI for the last 6 months because my primary focus was on infrastructure security, modern work. Then I got into the entire AI journey. I started building AI agents, agentic AI agents, multi-agents, which Susantha talked about, agents talking to agents, basically going through an organization or multiple organizations in different industries, where I ended up doing the entire AI transformation across every single department. So I'm involved currently with a couple of organizations doing that. And I will break down by the industries today. I mean, there are great examples. There are use cases which we have in the global landscape. So, for example, if you take, I think you spoke about Goldman Sachs, right? So they have a Marcus platform. So that does real-time credit risks and fraud detection. Right, and this autonomous decision-making, loan approval, and risk monitoring platform saves approximately 40% reduction in their defaulting rates. Right, 90% of the automation, routing, and compliance task is done by the AI, and the similar concept is adopted in Sri Lanka as well. And when I see the financial services in Sri Lanka and the Maldives, they adopt AI faster than any other industry, right? Mostly related to optimizing entire operations. So I have got involved with these organizations. We are building agents that does a lot of tasks, and overall efficiency of that is about, sometimes you can achieve about 90% efficiency, right? And it also naturally involves into better customer care. So when you're front ending with the customers, right? So this is where I think there's another example, Bank of America, that has a Erica virtual assistant. Okay, so that serves almost, I think, 60 million customer service interactions efficiently, right? The AI is so complex that it understands financial queries, transactions, and I think it processes about 1 billion transactions at launch. And this one basically reduced about 35% of the call center volumes as well. So things like this is, we take examples, and we are building in Sri Lanka as well. And today we have seen that once the agents are active, they're running, and this operational efficiency comes into by natural practice, right? Now, Susantha talk about healthcare, right? So I have been working with different models. So I have been working on Anthropic Claude, Google, ChatGPT, you name it, right? All these different models, they have different capabilities. Some is better than the other, right? So, for example, in the healthcare, I have seen, for example, the IBM Watson. They created a cancer treatment recommendation analysis. All right, so that is able to analyze the global treatments protocols against cancer. Right? And under 30 seconds, instead of it was taking a week, uh, the tumors can be identified and things like that, right? So they use that. Then I have seen AlphaFold, which is using Google DeepMind, and I have seen this operation in Sri Lanka as well. It has the medical database that it's very good. It will identify. So they have a AI very specific on medical things. And it able to identify these protein structures, they do for research, the drug discoveries, drug evaluations, there's a lot of R&D potential that is saved within using that platforms, right? Then I've seen Philips Healthcare. They have, I think, a healthcare suite platform that does real-time patient monitoring and early warning system. Right. So in Sri Lanka also they have, like for example, I know a leading insurance company use this kind of face capture system that identifies your health area. So those are captured as well, and it also has the ability to monitor continuous data analytics and autonomous alerting with the AI, right? So this kind of thing has resulted in 35% reduction in patient deterioration events, 18% reduction in average length of stay, things like that, is drastically help us. And I think I saw a video one day, a doctor was saying that he basically take an X-ray, and then he was saying I took 7 years to study this and learn the entire thing for 20 years. Today AI just do it in 30 seconds, right? Yeah. So I mean, these are some of the things. And I think I have also seen the BMW has a very in manufacturing, intelligent manufacturing. So everybody is now going towards this autonomous intelligent manufacturing. So they have optimized the entire supply chain coordination and the production optimization. So this I have not seen in Sri Lanka at the moment, but I've seen that there are agents and monitoring systems that allow us to monitor breakdown of supply chain platforms across. So for example, if I've seen in the apparel industry, that you have lines of machines that produce garments. So those are being monitored, and AI determines the predictive analysis of breaking the machines down, what maintenance that is required in order to prevent those things. Things like that is being used. And I think you have seen the customer service agents, which we have quite a lot. We have Amazon Alexia. I think there's a lot of things discussed there, and Alexia is for business being drastically used to allow human interaction. And what is important is these custom interactions, as the AI has become evolved so much that it understands the sentiments, and based on the sentiment it is able to respond clearly. I mean, a couple of years back we had a lot of robotic, but now it's becomes very natural with the natural language. I mean, you have AI agents which you can train your own voice, and based on your voice you can speak any language you want. So I have seen AI agents that you can speak over 140 languages. You can right now, if we are talking, we can actually record this entire session and we can have the entire session in a different language for a different um, country area and things like that, right, when you publish it. So these are things which I think they are using today. Even in Sri Lanka, these are being used today, especially organizations today who are focusing more, not doing the business primary in Sri Lanka, but they're also expanding to the regions, and the local language becomes important. So they build a marketing material, customer service agents to different languages. So I have seen Arabic, for example, has been used in Thailand. They use Indonesia. They use their Bhasha. I know things like that is all part of it, right? And of course, they expand to Europe and other areas as well with different languages. In the supply chain logistic, can give a clear example. DHL, for example, is even in Sri Lanka. They use something called a Resilience 360 that allows you to monitor the supply chain risk monitoring and management, right? So it can predict risks with autonomous mitigation actions, and it can also predict supply chain disruptions. So 70% reduction on supply chain disruption once they implemented this entire platform, right? So more Walmart uses it, and many of these guys uses these platforms as well. And it has become a point where the common value drivers, if I come up with, all these have something in very common. One is the speed. So decision made in seconds, not hours or days, right? The accuracy is the next thing, which is 95% plus precision accuracy, with 60% versus the accuracy from humans is about 60 to 80%, and it takes longer to achieve that, right? Then the scale, the amount of scaling. So handling millions of data points simultaneously, it's humanly impossible. So this is the third point. And the other thing is consistency. So 24/7 operation without any fatigue or variations, working in the weekends, late hours, it doesn't matter. AI is there. And even in Sri Lanka today, we have these examples, especially very good during health insurance. So you have today apps that allows you to communicate 24/7 in order to see, okay, you are going for a particular medical exam or your emergency, and do you want to know whether it can be claimed from my policy, what needs to be done. You have the AI, and usually it takes about 2 hours or 3 hours. Now you get it in like seconds, right? So things like that already built within Sri Lanka as well. Then the other thing is very important for the C levels is the ROI patterns, right? So most of them I see cost reduction. So cost reduction comes when you apply AI and you do AI transformation. You expect about 30 to 70% operational cost saving, right? Many global benchmark I have seen in the financial sector, they expect you to have about 60% is the average, but we can achieve this much between the 60 to 70% in reality. Then based on that is the revenue generation and the revenue growth. Because your business become more efficient, you'll be able to handle more volume, right, with the same humans within there by adapting a lot of these AI agents, right? And the other thing is risk mitigation. So 40 to 80% reduction in like incidents, errors which humans make. So these are thing, and of course the last thing is naturally the time saving, where we all see we have a massive 50 to 90% reduction in processing time, right? And when you implement these factors in the cross industry, these are very short term stuff, and the pilot phases usually take when you start implementing, it's 3 to 6 months, right? Some processes can be deployed even within weeks, right? So I have got involved with industries where I was able to optimize the entire operation within like 3 weeks maximum, right? It depends on the complexity of the AIs that you build in. Then scaling, when you're scaling out that entire phase, it can take from like 12 to 18 months, right? Things like that. So that's where you get the entire implementation timeline. And unlike previously, we talk about a lot of data and AI, we have this massive machine learning systems that we used to program. I think that era is gone because these are like quick wins and these are quick ROIs that we can measure. So these are key factors which I want to explain about across industries, which I seen happening across the globe. And yeah, I hope that answers the question that you mentioned.
Azmie, great insights, and you shared what's actually happening locally, and I'm sure you're working on these initiatives closely with those organizations, right? So we heard from Susantha and Azmi in terms of how different industries, different organizations are adopting agent or agentic AI. Inesh, you are living and working in an environment which is known the land of laws, right? EU always makes the laws. They're the first to make the laws. So on one side, we are talking about frameworks, legal aspects. On the other side, we are talking about performance and adoption. Now, what going to ask you is, or what I'd like to hear from you on behalf of the audience is, from an innovation standpoint, what are some of the common pitfalls or misconceptions that the organization should be aware when considering the adoption of agentic AI? Now, I think this has been in the industry for a while. People have learned, there are learnings. And if you're aware of some of these, I'd like to hear on behalf of the audience. Enesh?
Thank you so much, Sujit, for giving me this opportunity, first of all. Absolutely, I would like to, delighted to share some insights on this one. So the biggest pitfall is what I've seen so far, assuming agentic AI is just another layer of automation. So because it's totally different, it's not just automation. It is not. It's autonomy with an intent, meaning so many organizations underestimate the governance, orchestration, and the trust framework is needed to be embedded with the AI, what we're gonna build in or what we're gonna brought in to the environment. They also try to retrofit the agentic model into a legacy ecosystem, leading to brittle implementations, meaning so you might have very legacy systems which is on your environment, and then you're bringing in a super latest agent which is working on an AI, and they're not going to talk to each other because they're talking two different languages altogether. So the leaders must approach this is not a tech upgrade as usual, what we go for, let's say Windows 10 to 11 or some upgrade what we have done previously, but as a business model reinvention. So that's the key take on this one. So it's not just an upgrade, but it's totally different. It can be a reinvention. And furthermore, this is not just plug and play at the moment, and it's rethink and redesign. So that's the key take. I mean, so has to redesign the whole ecosystem probably to cater this requirement. So I would like to take a pause here and then go back to why I'm saying this, how we evolved from the history, right? So we lived in a vacuum tube era back in 1945 where this all started, right? So you might seen these ones from the documentaries and everything. So where the vacuum tubes comes in, then plug, and then building the first ever computer. And then this evolves to the semiconductor state. So where the diodes came into the picture and transistors came into the picture, right? Then the collective of these semiconductors become an IC, integrated circuit. And so these historic events, including the world wars, including the Cold War, which had happened, right, past, gives us a more mileage into this technology enhancement. So when it comes back to the so the very prominent scientist which talks about the AI very first time, so that was Alan Turing. So the the Turing test was the very famous historic event that we've all known, right? And then the Turing test was very first AI model that they built. So from the Turing test, what we are here right now is totally different era, and then it's evolvingly changing. And so those are the main concerns that we have seen so far in the industry. And there are different models already playing right now. So to give an example, what we have built, so I wrote a paper on back in 2020, how you identify users in the company, analyzing the patterns of DNS traffic and injecting into an AI model and predicting whether these users can be high risk to the organization within next 5-10 minutes. So during this build, so I've coded this one, I've built this one end to end. So during this, we have done supervised learning models and unsupervised learning models. These are the things people are not talking right now because AI is a fancy word in the market and everyone would like to talk about AI. But on the back end, there's a huge infrastructure, huge technologies which is supporting to gain this technology into this stage, right? So the common things that we would like to again highlight is there are legacy systems which cannot be integrated, and then we have to think about this, the whole infrastructure that we have. And then it's not a plug and play at the moment. What we need to do is rethink and redesign the environment based on our requirement. Over to you, Sujit.
Awesome. So you brought in classic examples, taking us back into the history, starting from 1945. Yeah, and I think there are a lot of misconceptions. There are pitfalls. And the key word I'm picking up is supervised and unsupervised. So taking the conversation forward, Azmie, I would like to ask you, revolving around supervision, how are you seeing organization addressing the needs for human oversight and control of agentic AI? Right? Are they, putting it in fully autonomous mode, or are they having the final say or human in the loop? What are your experience? How is it seen in this part of the world? How are people doing in other parts of the world? We'll also hear from Susantha, his point of view, once you complete.
Uh, I will explain you by giving an example because I've been building agents with the different business units. So what I've seen, there was a AI agent where let's take the entire the interview process of hiring an employee to the organization. Okay. Now, so there was a request from human resources. Can we automate as much as possible the entire process, right? So I looked at the reasons, and the reasons primarily being because when you look at entire 1 year cycle, a calendar year cycle, they had an issue where 1,000 employees are coming in and 1,000 employees are leaving, right? So HR goes through the entire process every year, and it becomes a very difficult part of it. But that's how the organization works, because these are, you're talking about mostly frontline workers, which shifts type of industries that they have. So the involvement was, okay, how can we automate as much as possible? So if I take the entire example as I build across, this is where I think human was part of the entire conversation. You cannot fully automate it. Certain tasks you can fully automate it, but certain tasks you have to have a human in loop. So when we build the agent, the first thing that we did, yes, first interview, we can build fully autonomous. Okay, so the approach was first of all, a department head or somebody in department put a request saying that I want this kind of person with these qualifications, with these skills for me to hire. Now, what they used to do is to give the request to the HR, and then HR formulates a job description and a standard advertisement, and they manually go and publish in social media sites, job sites, and all that. Okay, so that the entire process. So this used to take weeks and weeks. So today, with the integrating AI, what we do is we provide an interface for that manager or the person who's requesting that stuff, and then he just types what he wants, and the AI will automatically generate everything that HR used to do manually, and it will automatically post on the websites. So it will be on Facebook, it will be on a job posting site with APIs integrated. It can be in LinkedIn, the entire process, and candidates can apply. Okay, so it's a fully autonomous thing. So once the candidate applies, their CVs of what they entered, and they uploaded into the any other this platform, the AI agents monitors it, and it captures all of that data and put it to a single source. Okay, while it's capturing, it analyzes against what they wanted, the experience, all of that they wanted, and it also automatically generates a list of interview questions, follow-up things that I should be asking, right, during the interview, right? And that is where it goes and suggests, and it shortlist. So let's say, for example, you have 1,000 applications, and the AI has conditions. So we put rules for different jobs. These are the things that has to be done. It has to score. It automatically scores the entire CV, and then it schedules the entire interview process. Okay, so the first interview is totally done by AI, and the video, the character is a human. So we captured one of the HR interviews, and she was created a digital twin. Once a digital twin is created, we fed the necessary answers that the AI from the CV, right? All these questions are coming, and plus there were certain questions that the human department had as well. So those are fed in, and this entire virtual interview happens with the AI. Now AI does two things. First thing that it does is it understands the facial recognition on how you interact and how you respond to the questions that it's asking. And second thing it was able to do is, based on your voice, it can able to understand the sentiment. Okay. Once this entire process is been done, it creates a nice evaluation sheet that goes a recommendation to the second interviewer. Right. So imagine from starting job posting to scheduling interview process happening, then scoring, everything done as part of the AI. Now on the second interview process is the standard interview process that they used to do. So they were able to eliminate that noise of application that is coming up, right? And they were able to fast track that entire process. But they also had a knowledge at the back end where we put the knowledge at the back end saying that, okay, how many times, for example, this person has applied for this particular job. So we had that data. So they had a long-term memory to the AI that does that part. So they are able to understand. So how many times that person applied for this particular job, things like that. All data is captured and kept. So this entire process accelerated their process of hiring. And I think the first point was that the people were surprised when they came for interview. Wow, all of a sudden this company has an AI interview process, and it works very well in the front end, and it was more natural because it was never robotic. So what in order to train that AI, right? We had put a lot of governance practices. So we mentioned policies and ethics to the AI, saying that, okay, these are your guardrails, these are your do's and don'ts during the process, and what you should be asking. After that, it knows to follow those rules. So these rules and the governance practices are very important when you have this control mechanism in building the AI. Right. Also you need to understand that it is not something that you fire and forget. That means you build once and you forget about it, because AI evolves at a faster rate, and the models that they're using also evolves. So in this case, when I build this example, I had to use multiple commercial models, right? So if I look at ChatGPT APIs, we had to use Claude, we had to use Gemini Pro, and we had to use our own LLM, which is running on the cloud platform. So these had the knowledge for internal sources, right? So internal data. So the internal data that we had, we didn't want it to put into commercial LLMs, right? We had that on our LLM. Which had the control. Most of the controls were done on our local LLM. So things are like that is something that we have to look at, because when you build agents, that control mechanism is very important, right? And operational efficiency. So you mentioned about the risk decisions category about fully autonomous, right? So where there is low risk and high volume decisions, we build fully automated AI agents. Okay, and these are well-defined structures, well-defined parameters. There are no legal actions against these, things like that. They are all compliant. So these can be fully autonomous, right? But the mindset in when you talk to a C-level is sometimes, okay, I want this automated and things like that. But it's you need to understand what they are. You need to put these in. So I take this AI as fully autonomous as green zone. So we categorize those as it is. Then you have yellow zone. So these are conditional autonomous AI, where we understand it as a medium risk organization, but it has a lot of sensitive actions that it need to perform. So this is where we have to build guardrails across, right, to get that confidence on the AI. So that require a little bit of automatic documentation, like getting the organization documents built in. So when we build these agents, right, so we had a lot of sources within the organization that had rules put in. Some of the rules we have to tell it in a way that it will be able to the AI can understand some of the rules, right? Then the last one, which is we call it red zone, is where if there are legal implications or if there are high impact decisions, right? And it has strategic business impact. Or it can be like, for example, the brand image. These ones we had a human required to check. A classic example would be, I get an email from, let's say, for example, insurance industry. I get an email from, or a WhatsApp call, or let's say, or even a voice call from a client asking, okay, I have this prescription from the doctor, and I need to do this medical test. Okay, so that person captures on the phone using WhatsApp or whatever the system, or email attached, things like that. The AI they send the email to this particular email address. Now AI goes and monitors that 24/7. It monitors that. It breaks down the audio file separately, takes the image file separately, and read the content of the email as well. And then it understands, okay, it gives a recommendation, but the recommendation doesn't automatically go back to the asker, the customer, right? It goes to a doctor to cross check. So that's where the human comes into play. Without that person, so it basically generates a summary. The doctor reviews the original email, and the summary generated by the AI, and this option says approve or decline. Okay, that comes fully automated. So if the doctor says, okay, this is wrong, and you can request the AI, okay, I want another one generated because these things are wrong. Now, based on the guidelines given, the AI corrects itself. So that's where we have the long-term memory, and it's able to become better and better, because we're training that model to become better. These are the errors you're making. This is how you correct it. So the doctor basically trains that the model fully automated, right? So then it gets better and better. So this process, that because it has a legal implication, because and if it's approved, then an automated email gets generated back to the client saying, yes, this is your policy. These are the clauses in the agreement, because it gives all the references, right? And it tells you exactly in your insurance policy, go to this section, go to this page number, look at this. This is where it says But at the bottom, we will say it is also AI generated response, just to make sure the legal. So these are the control mechanisms. When you build agents, you have to really think the risk factors, and you have to put guardrails in order to, have this human and the AI working together as one single entity. I hope that answers that question.
Oh, yes, it did. I mean, I was actually, my mind was running haywire trying to see where we can apply these concepts, right? And I think the areas of application is vast.
Absolutely.
Susantha, you heard Azmie illustrate, the recruitment process. He also touched on a medical scenario, right, where doctor gets involved, a human intervention. You also heard me in my introduction where I was saying from between now and 2030, the skill sets are going to be either become outdated or you may have to rehaul all the skill sets. So keeping that as a context, what should be the talent strategy perspective for the organizations to prepare their workforce for this evolving landscape where agentic AI is becoming more prevalent?
That's a crucial question, Sujit, I would say, based on what we captured at this moment. So, because success of the agentic AI evolution also in the enterprises don't hinge on to the tech alone. So it depends on how well the organization is going to prepare their people to work with those intelligent agents. So basically, based on my, let's say, the opinion, I would believe like organization need to think about, let's say, high level, three layers. One about is the mindset shift, and then second is on the skill set development, and then lastly on the organization redesign. So if I dwell into each little bit, I will not go in depth due to the time, but on the mindset perspective, the first shift is cultural. So we know how difficult that is. So the leaders and the teams need to reframe that AI is not a threat, but as a collaborative digital teammate. So this is where we also need to understand agentic AI based on what we discussed so far is not just automating the task. It will going to co-create, suggest, and then also going to decide. So that requires actually a trust and then openness and then also willingness to let go of those certain microcontrol. So organization must, I would say, actively demystify these technologies to the staff, like showing the demos, simulations, and then user case story, just like how Asmi highlighted a few minutes ago, to build the confidence. And then importantly, this also isn't about replacing the humans. What we need to understand it's all about amplifying the human potential. So in one case, as we highlighted, if we do that one for the business perspective, business can actually handle more volume. So in that case, yes, the agents will help you to do that one, but the human element is there in order to do certain decisions, like in focus on the creativity side, relational side, and strategic work. So that's where we need to make sure that awareness is given properly for the team members in the organization. On the skill set development side, I would say three different areas, skill perspective. One is AI literacy for all. Now, this is again going to be fundamental. AI is not going to be optional anymore for saying it's only for IT. No, understanding how agentic AI work and then what it can do and cannot do, everyone need to be aware in organization. So think about I would say this is kind of like Excel moment for AI. Just like everyone learned about spreadsheets, now everyone need to have some baseline about on the AI fluency. So that's fundamental. Now the second level is about the prompt engineering and then the agent design. Now this is for I would say the business technologies and then power users. So which is new roles are emerging: prompt engineers, AI orchestrators, and then people like agent trainers. So these aren't hard coders; they are professionals. So who understand how to guide, like let's say the test, and then redefine the autonomous systems. And then the third level is judgment and the oversight. So because when the AI is going to do become more autonomous, humans also need to become better at the interpreting AI outputs, like assessing the risk, and then also applying ethical reasoning. So we need to have these meta skills also going to be essential for the governance, like as Azmie mentioned earlier, on the governance side, and then the trust, and then the accountability side. So this has already been certain organization already started actually doing this upskilling on the AI program, like it's already started. And then if I come to the third point, redesign, organizational redesign. So this is about preparing for AI. Let's say the agentic AI also means like redesigning how to work to get done. So it's no longer going to be just about the people and process anymore. It's all about people, process, and then the digital agents. So what I would say is organization now need to identify the candidates, the workflows where the agent can add value, like help with triage, document drafting, and supply chain optimizations, and certain customer scenario handling, and then also redesign these workflows with human agent collaboration, which already been highlighted previously. And then the final is establishing the cross-functional fusion teams. So which is going to be paired the business leads with AI, IT teams to co-create that and then governance these flows. So finally, I would say that ultimately talent strategy for agentic AI is just not about hiring AI experts, in many IT organizations try to do and then lay off a lot of staff. It's a little bit different for other organizations. It's about making AI competencies a core muscle for across the business. So think of like I would say in a way sometimes I explain it like digital transformation 2.0. Like it's not a department, it's a mindset. So organizations now they that democratize AI literacy. Now they need to empower their teams to experiment safely and then treat the humans and agent as the co-creators. So not like competitors. So which is going to be I would say as you highlighted of 2030. But before that, I would say this is like one way how we are going to thrive in this new era coming forward. So I would say that's where we need to focus on the training sector.
Absolutely. Digital transformation 2.0 requires taking into consideration the meta shift and the different characteristics. Uh, you know, human in the loop is always good, but how do you transform the culture? Right? And every organization is unique in its own ways. They have their own DNA, they have their own culture, they do have their own ethical behaviors. So bringing Enesh on, you heard Azmie give examples, optimization, the value which organizations derive out of agentic AI, and you also heard how uh, the adoption of agentic AI is amplifying the human potential, right? So while it amplifies the human potential, there is also possibility the humans or the agentic AI can also be hallucinating, which may be in conflict of ethical practices. While it might be right for somebody, but it may overall be at fault. It may be on the wrong side of the law. So, Inesh, what should be the ethical considerations that become particularly salient with the increasing journey of autonomy agentic AI?
Yes,
Niche?
Sujit. So, as you rightly said, Asmi and Susantha both uh, highlighted loads of key factors during this discussion about AI and what are the things that we should focus on. So, as agents gain autonomy, so intent becomes the battleground, right? So, having said that, I would like to focus on one of the fantastic movies came out in 1999, um, who was there. Robin Williams, a fantastic, phenomenal actor, was there about an intelligent man. So, in a nutshell, what I want to say is, at the end of the movie, at the beginning he was a he's a robot, and then he wants to transform into a fully functional man. But then there was a discussion going on at the end. Are you a man or are you still a machine? And then before the verdict comes out, he died peacefully as a man, but the verdict came as, no, you're still a robot. You're not a man. All right. So keeping this in mind, emotional intelligence is a key factor deciding this thin, fine line in between machines and humans. So who decides what is good? That's the key question. And agentic AI challenges the every architecture of ethical decision making, meaning base is no longer static and it's dynamic and it's adaptive and it's so changing. So the transparency and the explainability and the traceability must be engineered from the day zero, right? And let's be honest, so the regulation is still trailing behind on AI evolution, right? So that's why the organizations must adopt an ethical risk modeling as a serious, as a financial or cyber risk modeling. So that's the main reason. So the problem happens is, so we need to go back to the same discussion what we brought in, so the supervised learning and unsupervised learning piece, right? So considering those factors, Sujit, so let's take an RNN, recurrence neural network, as a small example. Once you put the data in, so you have two factors of data. So let's say the test set and the model what you're going to train. So once you put it in, and the neuron itself try to learn, and the engineers don't know what it's gonna learn on the back end. What you can do is you can give some guardrails to see what you need to do, but it learn itself, you know. So considering these elements, I would say like the three principles of robotics is still valid, right? You know, so the key factors which came in way back. So likewise, we need to have very solid foundation on these factors, and we need to know what are the KPIs and how we train in a different way this agentic AI. It shouldn't be agentic, it can be any AI model, right? How we factor in the risk-based modeling as well as give them a score and say, right now we have loads of scoring mechanisms like F1 score or overfit, underfit, ROC curves, you know, different mechanisms that we give the feedback to AI. So the same way, when it comes to the unsupervised model, that's the key factor because it's totally different. That's where the agentic models comes into the play. So we need to have a mechanism saying, all right, this is the wraparound, you don't cross the line here. And then you have to stick into this area, and this is your boundary. And defining the boundary and defining the risk and amalgamating these two is the key component and the key driver for AI transition in this era. Over to you, Sujit.
All right, brilliant. So, guardrails are the key to this conversation, right? So, defining the boundaries are paramount. So, just before I bring this session to a conclusion, just a 30 seconds to 60 seconds. What are your closing thoughts? And I'm going to go first to Azmie, then to Susantha, and then to Enesh. What are your closing thoughts, Azmie?
All right. So there are short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So in the short term, I see mainstream adaptation of AI, agentic AI, very specifically on cybersecurity and financial services. There's going to be a lot of integration that is going to happen between vendors and the vendor ecosystem that we are building. Every single vendor is going to have their AI-empowered APIs available for the AI to communicate. And of course, there's going to be AI governance from governments, organizations, regulatory frameworks applied. So today I have seen very last week, India put their AI papers, the governance framework. Australia put their own one previous week. So likewise, every single country is going to put that framework in place, right? On the medium term, we talked about a lot of multi-agent collaboration. I think beyond that is going to be where systems are going to talk to each other using their own agents, or we have MCPs coming into play. So they're going to have those things coming in, and these things are going to integrate into the entire industry-specific systems. Even, for example, manufacturing IoT products, different applications as well. In the long term, I think everything's trying to become, businesses trying to become autonomous. And what I also see in the organizations is that the AI native organizations are going to build in with smaller teams, right? It's not going to be large, huge investments that is coming in, but smaller teams are able to turn around a lot of this human AI collaboration on a fast scale, which I see as a future.
Enesh, your takeaways?
Yeah, thanks, Sujit. So agentic AI is not a trend. It's a tectonic shift, I would say. We are moving from tools that serve to us to agents that collaborate with us. So the trajectory is exponential, and we need interoperable agents across domains, forming autonomous networks that redefines how business gets done. So the workplace isn't evolving. That's my final thought. It's being reimagined at a protocol level. That's the final thought.
Absolutely. So my takeaways are that you need to work on the governance. You need to lay down your roadmap. Look at small, shorter time frames and look at those routine, mundane tasks. And you also need to relook at repurposing your skills, your human resources. Right? You also need to adopt and implement a program to help people understand as to how their work is going to change. It's not about laying off, as one of you said. The conversation is not about laying off. It is a conversation. How do we use this technology as assistant so that you can be more productive? Right now, the top lines may not change, but of course, efficiency, performance, and maybe cost savings would be significant, which would actually drive the bottom line savings to a significant number. So, with that thought, I'd like to thank Azmie, Susantha, and Enesh for taking time to discuss this very important topic. And I'm sure we will again regroup to have another topic of where we would discuss a very important or a critical subject as such as this, which would have a greater impact on the organization and the user community. Please look out for our future episodes. If you have not subscribed to our channel, I request you to subscribe, hit the follow button, and also share this video with your friends and colleagues. And I am sure it would be of great benefit to all of you.